My name is Marcus. I'm 19 years old, and I need to tell you what I did. Not because I want forgiveness, but because you need to understand what happens when you ignore every warning someone gives you. I've been in a coma for 3 years, but I can still think, I can still hear, I can still feel everything around me. My parents visit every day. My friends don't visit anymore, and every night I see him, the person I used to call my best friend. I see him standing over my body, his face full of contempt and rage, and he tells me the same thing every time. I told you this would happen. I told you not to do it. Let me start from the beginning. Let me tell you who I was before all of this. Before I became this thing. This consciousness trapped between worlds. I was a normal 19-year-old kid. I went to community college. I worked part-time at a coffee shop. I had friends. I had a life. But I was also searching for something. I didn't know what. Some kind of meaning. Some kind of power. Some kind of way to be more than just an ordinary person living an ordinary life. I found it in books about astral projection. I started reading about it sophomore year of high school. Astral travel and out-of-body experiences. The art of lucid dreaming. Consciousness beyond the physical. I read them all. I devoured them. I became obsessed with the idea that consciousness could exist separately from the body, that you could leave your physical form and travel through other dimensions, that there was a part of you that was pure spirit, independent from flesh. It felt like discovering a secret that nobody else knew. I started practicing meditation, visualization exercises. I learned about sleep paralysis and how to use it as a gateway. I learned about the hypnagogic state, that space between sleep and waking where the astral body could separate from the physical. I spent months practicing, night after night, lying in bed, trying to induce the right state of consciousness. And then I met Miguel. He transferred to my high school junior year. Puerto Rican, tall, cool. The kind of guy who didn't have to try. He became my best friend almost immediately. We were inseparable. He knew about my obsession with astral projection because I talked about it constantly. He knew all my theories, all my techniques, all my dreams about what I would do if I could actually leave my body. And he warned me. He didn't do it in a mean way. He did it because he actually cared about me. He told me that his family had traditions. Real traditions. His grandmother was a curandera spiritual healer. His family understood things about the spiritual world that most people didn't. And he said what I was trying to do was dangerous. He said, "Marcus, you're trying to open a door you don't understand. Once that door is open, things can come through. Things that don't have your best interests in mind." I told him he was being superstitious. I told him that astral projection was just consciousness. It was neutral. It was just a tool. Like any tool, it could be used for good or bad, but it wasn't inherently dangerous. He told me I was wrong. He said consciousness wasn't neutral. He said every act of consciousness had consequences. He said leaving your body unprotected was like leaving your house unlocked while you're away. You're inviting trouble. I didn't listen. I was 19. I was convinced I knew better. I was convinced that he was just being traditional and closed-minded. I was convinced that I could do this safely. I was also attracted to his girlfriend. Her name was Isabella. She was beautiful. Impossibly beautiful. She had dark eyes and long black hair and a way of moving that made every room seem smaller. She was thoughtful and kind, and she seemed to genuinely care about Miguel, which made me hate her and want her at the same time. I never said anything. I never acted on it. But I thought about her constantly. I fantasized about her. And somewhere, in the back of my mind, I knew that if I could master astral projection, I could see her. I could be near her without her knowing. I could experience her in ways that were impossible in the physical world. That desire is what finally made me successful. It took me almost 2 years of practice. But one night it happened. I was lying in bed in that hypnagogic state, and I felt it, a vibration running through my entire body, a humming sound in my ears. And then, suddenly, I was floating above my bed. I was out of my body. I could see my physical form lying below me, completely still. I could see through walls. I could move by just thinking about where I wanted to go. I could feel the air around me, even though it was somehow different from physical air. It was lighter, more fluid, and my first instinct was to go to Isabella. I flew through the night, through streets and buildings and walls. My astral body didn't have to follow the rules of the physical world, and I found her. I found her house. I found her bedroom. She was sleeping. I stood there, just watching her, watching the way her chest rose and fell, watching the way her face looked peaceful in sleep. I didn't touch her. I didn't do anything. I just watched, and it felt like the most intimate thing I'd ever experienced. I stayed with her for what felt like hours. Then I went home. I felt my astral body being pulled back toward my physical body, and suddenly I was lying in my bed again, my heart pounding, my entire body covered in sweat. I had done it. I had actually done it. I had left my body and traveled to another place, and it was the most amazing feeling of my life. I did it again the next night, and the night after that, and the night after that. It became an obsession. Every night, I would lie in bed and practice the techniques until I could separate from my body. And then I would go to Isabella. At first, I just watched her sleep, but as time went on, I wanted more. I wanted to be closer. I wanted to experience more of her. I started showing up when she was awake. I would watch her getting ready for school. I would watch her studying. I would watch her with McGill and hate him for being able to touch her in ways I couldn't. And then one night, I watched her take a shower. She was alone in the bathroom, the water running, steam filling the space, and I watched her from the corner of the room. I watched her wash her body. I watched every part of her, and she felt it. I don't know how. Maybe astral bodies have some kind of presence. Maybe she sensed the disturbance in the spiritual energy, but she suddenly stopped what she was doing and looked around. She couldn't see Mai was invisible in the astral plane, but she knew something was there. She got out of the shower quickly and wrapped herself in a towel. She was shaking. I could see the fear on her face. And even knowing I'd scared her, even knowing I'd violated her privacy, I felt alive. I felt powerful. That should have been my warning. That should have been the moment I stopped. But it didn't. Instead, I got bolder. I started appearing in her bedroom when she was awake. I would hover at the foot of her bed or stand in the corner. She couldn't see me, but she could sense me. I could see the fear in her eyes. I could see goosebumps rise on her skin. I could feel her terror like it was a physical thing I could touch, and I loved it. I became addicted to her fear. I would wait until she was alone and then I would appear. I would move things slightly, make the air cold, create little disturbances she couldn't explain. I was a ghost, haunting the woman I loved. Isabella started having nightmares. She started sleeping with all the lights on. She stopped being alone in the house. When Miguel was at work or class, she would go stay with friends or family. And then she told him. She told Miguel that something was haunting her, that she could feel a presence watching her, that something was in the house with her, something that felt malevolent and wrong. She told him she was terrified. Miguel listened, and I could see the moment he understood. The moment he figured out what was happening. He called me the next day. He asked me directly if I'd been astral projecting to his girlfriend's house. He asked me with his voice completely calm and controlled, which was somehow more terrifying than if he'd been angry. I lied. I said no. I said I hadn't been doing that. I said I'd stopped astral projecting months ago. He didn't believe me. He said he was going to do something to protect Isabella. He said he was going to perform a ritual his grandmother had taught him. He said it would create a spiritual barrier around Isabella and his house that would be impenetrable to any outside consciousness. And he warned me. He said, "Marcus, if you're doing what I think you're doing, you need to stop. You need to stop. Right now. Because the ritual my grandmother taught MIT doesn't just create a barrier. It traps anything that's caught between worlds. If your astral body is inside that barrier when I perform the ritual, you will be trapped there. Your consciousness will be stuck. You won't be able to get back to your body." I told him that was bullshit. That magic wasn't real. That there was no such thing as spiritual traps. He told me I was a fool, but I didn't believe him. I thought he was just trying to scare me. I thought he was using his family traditions as a way to keep me away from Isabella. I thought it was a bluff. So I did it again. The night after he warned me, I astral projected. I flew to Isabella's house. I wanted to see her one more time before Miguel supposedly performed his ritual. I wanted to prove to myself that magic wasn't real. I found her sleeping in her bedroom. She looked so peaceful, so beautiful. I moved closer. I wanted to touch her astral form, to see if I could interact with her in some way. And then the world exploded. There was a light, a blinding light that came from everywhere at once. I heard sounds chanting in a language I didn't understand. Spanish, maybe, or something older. I felt pain, real pain, as if my astral body was being pulled in multiple directions. At once, I tried to move. I tried to fly back to my physical body, but I couldn't. There was a barrier around me, an invisible wall that I couldn't penetrate. I was trapped. The light faded and the chanting stopped, but I was still stuck. I was in Isabella's bedroom, in the astral plane, completely unable to leave. I tried everything. I tried flying up, down, through walls. I tried forcing my consciousness back to my body. Nothing worked. I stayed there for what felt like hours. Terror building in my mind. My consciousness becoming more and more frantic. And then I realized something. I realized that I wasn't just trapped in astral form. I realized that my physical body wasn't able to function without my consciousness. I realized that I was dying. I felt my heart stop. I felt my body shut down. I felt myself slipping away from consciousness as my physical form collapsed into total stillness. And then I woke up. I was lying in my bed. My physical body was there, but I was aware of it the way you're aware of a room you're in, present but distant. I tried to move my hand. It wouldn't move. I tried to speak. I couldn't make a sound. My parents found me an hour later. They found me completely unresponsive. They called an ambulance. They took me to the hospital. The doctors said I'd suffered a massive seizure. They said my brain had shut down completely. They said I was in a coma and they didn't know if I would ever wake up. I'd been in that coma for 3 years now, but my consciousness never left. I'm aware of everything. I can hear my parents crying next to my bed. I can see the machines keeping my body alive. I can feel the frustration of being completely trapped in a body that won't respond to my mind. I can see Miguel visiting me. He comes at night, usually, when my parents have gone home, when the hospital is quiet. He sits next to my bed and he just looks at me, and then he talks. He tells me what I already know. That he tried to warn me, that he told me astral projection was dangerous, that he told me leaving my body unprotected was asking for trouble, that he told me the consequences would be severe. And every time he visits, he says the same thing. I told you, Marcus. I told you this would happen. I told you not to do it. I told you how dangerous it would be. And now look at you. The cruelest part is that I deserve it. I know I deserve it. I violated Isabella. I invaded her privacy. I made her feel unsafe in her own home. I did something that was fundamentally wrong, and I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyway. And the consequence has been complete annihilation, not death. Something worse. Consciousness without agency. Awareness without ability. Existence as a prisoner in my own body. I can feel my consciousness slowly degrading, not fading, degrading, like something is wearing away at the edges of my mind. Maybe this is what happens when consciousness is separated from the astral body. For too long, maybe I'm slowly going insane. Sometimes I see things that aren't there. Sometimes I feel presences in the room that can't be explained. Sometimes I wonder if other spirits are trapped the way I am. Consciousness without bodies. Awareness without escape. I think Miguel knows this is happening to me. I think that's why he keeps visiting. He's watching me suffer. He's watching me degrade. He's making sure I understand the consequences of what I did. And I do understand. I understand completely. I violated someone I claimed to care about. I used spiritual power as a tool for selfish desire. I ignored every warning. I thought I was above consequence. And now I am the consequence. If you're listening to this story, if you're reading these words, I need you to understand something. Astral projection is real. The ability to separate consciousness from the body exists. But it's not a game. It's not a tool for voyeurism or invasion. Every action in the spiritual realm has consequences in the physical realm. Every violation echoes across dimensions. Every moment you spend outside your body is a moment your body is unprotected. There are things that exist in the spaces between worlds, things that feed on consciousness, things that love when you leave your body unguarded. And there are people, like Miguel, people with real knowledge of spiritual power, people who will protect their loved ones, people who will trap you between worlds if they have to. I think about Isabella sometimes. I hope she's okay. I hope Miguel's ritual protected her. I hope she moved on from being haunted by my consciousness. I think about my parents. I hope they forgive me. I hope they understand that I didn't mean to become this thing. I didn't mean to trap myself, 'cause I didn't mean to end up here.
But most of all, I think about Miguel's visits. I think about that moment when he sits down next to my bed and he looks at me with such contempt and such sadness. Because I understand now what he's doing. He's not visiting to torture me. He's visiting to bear witness. He's visiting to make sure I understand what I did. He's visiting because he has to, because somewhere in his heart he still cares about me enough to make sure I know the truth. That I told you, Marcus. That I tried to save you. That I warned you and you didn't listen, and now you are exactly where you deserve to be. I don't know how much longer I have. I don't know how long a consciousness can exist in this state before it completely fragments. I don't know if there's any escape from here, but I know this much. If you're young and you're curious about astral projection, if you've read the books and you think you understand, if you think you can do it safely, don't. Listen to the people who warn you. Listen to the people who know. Listen to the voice inside you that says something is wrong, because once you leave your body, you can't always get back. And the things you do in the astral plane don't just stay there. They follow you back. They infect your life. They destroy everything you touch. I learned this too late. Don't make my mistake. Don't leave your body open. Don't think you're above consequence. Don't think the person warning you is just being superstitious. Because the spiritual world is real, and it has rules, and if you break them, you will pay. I'm paying. Every single day I'm paying, and it will never be enough.